So last day, have you just been seen working up with Visual Studio? Yeah. So where we stopped it? We stopped it here. Okay. I updated the notes also. Have you checked out? I updated the notes also. Have you checked out, guys? Read the notes. If you are not attending the class, I won't teach at all. If you are just attended the class and did not understand any doubts, I'll explain you. But you are absent to the class, that shows your irregularity. Okay, so I won't tell. Everyone will say, "Sir, yesterday I'm absent. Tell me again." I won't. Yeah. So guys, so we just been stopped it here in the previous session. So I updated the notes also. I just updated the notes like how you do. And what did I say, guys? The window will close off. The window will close off. And if at all you want to stop the window to close, what to write? Read line. Let's add the statement. What is that? Read line. When you add the read line statement, automatically the screen will wait for you. Okay. Right now in our project, how many classes are there? Right now in our project, how many classes are there? One only, na? One only. We just have only one class in the project. We don't have multiple classes in the project. The number of classes we have in the project is only one. Okay. So I wanted to add a new class in the project. I wanted to add a new class in the project. How to add? Look at this, guys. If you want to add a new class in the project, how do you add is in the right hand side of the studio, you'll be finding a window here called Solution Explorer. Can you see that? Can you see where my mouse is pointing? Solution Explorer. When you click on that, it will launch out the Solution Explorer. It will launch you the Solution Explorer. When you click on that, it will launch you the Solution Explorer. There's an auto hiding behavior here. If I take my mouse out, it will close off again. Otherwise, it will go and launch under that particular location. In the Solution Explorer, that will be launching actually. Okay, so this is the Solution Explorer. And remember, if you don't find the Solution Explorer here, don't panic. Go to View menu, and in the View menu, you can select Solution Explorer. Like this also we can launch. Guys, have a look. This is your project. First project. Under the project, if you see, it will show you some dependencies and it will show you the classes you have. What are the dependencies? Basically, this project is right now having a dependency, a framework dependency. What is that? Microsoft.NET Core. Array, this project is dependent on Microsoft.NET Core. Are you clear, all of you? Microsoft.NET Core is what it is dependent on, basically. Okay. Next, here is your file, program.cs. In this file, how many classes are there? One class. If you expand it, guys, it will show you the class name. If you expand it, it will show you the contents also. So tomorrow, if at all you want to see the contents of a class or a file, you don't require to open the file. From here, you can check. Program.cs, under that we have a program class, under that there's a main method. If you write multiple methods, it will show you the list of all the methods here. Okay. Now, I want to add a new class under the project. I want to add a new class under the project. Anita, I given you introduction videos to you. Anita, all the introduction videos are provided to you. In those videos, I just given a clear explanation. I said you number of times to all of you, Array, watch the videos, watch the videos. Watch the videos. There you'll understand what is the difference between .NET and .NET Core. Not .NET, .NET Framework and .NET Core. Okay. So look here. This is your project. Under the project, this is your class, program.cs. This is your project and this is your class, program.cs. Now, right click on this project. On this project, select add, you'll find an option called new item. I repeat, right click on the project which opens a menu, select add, new item. It opens a window called as new project temp, add new item window. It opens a add new item window. Guys, look, it opens your add new item window. In this, here you'll be finding the list of items you can add. There are various things that we require in the development of a project. Various things that we require in the development of a project, everything will be coming for you in the list here. You can choose. What do you want to add? Class. Select a class. And in the below, it will ask you for the name of the class. In the below, it will ask you for the name of the class. What is the name of the class? Class1.cs. What is the name of the class? Class1.cs. So we require a name to the class, and the name of the class is class1.cs. Understood? So here, what to do? Just simply, you're just going to get the name of the class here, class1.cs. If you want to leave the same, leave it. Otherwise, change the name. If you want to leave it, or otherwise change the name. Okay, I'm going to leave the name like that only, class1.cs. So simply click on add button. Now you see the new class is added under the project. The new class is added under the project. But if you look at the new class added, array guys, it will write you all this code for you. In the new class added, it will write all this code. It will generate you this code. We basically call this as a project template. We basically call this as a project template. Okay, now, so here we just have the Solution Explorer. So open the Solution Explorer, and once you just open the Solution Explorer, it will open a window like this. Just go for choosing the classes what you want. Go for choosing the classes what you just want. So this is what you want. And now, in the window, in this window, select class template, specify a name to it in the bottom or leave the existing name and click on the add button, which adds a class under, which adds the class under our project with the name class1.cs. with the name class1.cs. I left the existing name or leave the existing name. Okay, which adds the class under a project with the name class1.cs. The new class we added also comes under the same namespace. What is it? First project. Look at this, guys. Already explained to you in the last class. All your classes will be present in the namespace. What is the namespace name? The namespace name is a project name only. So first project is the name of the namespace. The namespace first project. Okay. I'm under the same namespace first project, and we find the below coordinate. We find the below coordinate. Okay. Guys, listen. By default, the class will have few import statements on the top. Will have 5 import statements on the top. Importing. Yes, Tashi Mohan, we can have on the top importing a set of namespaces. Okay. So by default, the class will be the class will have 5 import statements. 5 import statements importing a set of namespaces. And these imports are not important for us now because in C# 10.0 all the above namespaces are global imports. All the above namespaces are global imports. Last class, do you remember I said you there are a set of global imports to you? Last class, do you remember I said you there are a set of global imports to you? What are the global imports we have? System see here what we have: system.collection.generic, system.link, system.text, system.threading.test. We have all these things in the global import, see, except system.text. Other things are present, see. System is there, system.link is there, system.threading is there, system.collections.generic is there. And only one is there, one is not there. Text is not there. Say, system is there, generic is there, link is there. Yes. Text except text, remaining all are there. Are you guys clear? By default, the class will have 5 import statements, importing a set of namespaces. And these imports are, and these are not important for us now. These are not important for us now because in C# 10, all the above namespaces except system.text are global imports. Are global imports. So you can either delete them or leave them. You guys understand me? Either delete off or leave them. No issue with that. Okay. So I am deleting off. To reduce the code, I'm deleting off. Delete off. System.text. We'll talk about it. Every namespace we'll talk. The situation comes, I'll tell you. Okay. So what is the use of system.text? There's a class called a string builder class. For working with that string builder class, we require it. Okay. We'll talk about it in the later, guys. I'll tell you. Okay. Okay. Next. Now, under the class, write the below. Are you guys clear? Write this code. Simple code. Guys, have a look. Okay. Now, the new class is ready and you want to run the class, right? The new class is ready and you wanted to run the class. And all of you remember this point now. What is that? You wanted to run the code. You wanted to run this particular code. How to run the class? Guys, if at all you want to run the class, you cannot run this class directly. You cannot run this class directly. You can't run this class. Cannot run? No. Why? Guys, yesterday, do you remember when I click on this one or F5, the code was executing automatically? Yesterday when I hit F5, the code was running. But now when you come to class 1 and if I try to hit F5, the code won't run. We get error. We get an error. Why are we getting an error? Because there are multiple entry points in the project. See, now when we run the project, we get an error stating that there are multiple entry points in the project because the two classes in the project, the project contains, because the two classes that are defined in the project contains a main method. and every main method is an entry point. Every main method is an entry point. Okay, every main method is an entry point. So to resolve the problem, we need to set a property known as startup object. So all of you carefully listen to me. What I'm telling you, there are multiple entry points in the project. Because there are multiple entry points in the project, we have a problem now. What is the problem? The problem is, Visual Studio is confused. What confusion? Where to start the execution from? Visual Studio is confused. Where to start the execution from? Did you catch my point, all of you? Visual Studio is in a big confusion, like where to start the execution, because every class, every main method is an entry point. Because every main method is an entry point, Visual Studio is now in a big confusion to understand where to start the execution from. Okay, so it is going to throw you an error. Because the two classes that are defined in the project contains a main method, and every main method is an entry point. So to resolve the above problem, we need to set a property known as startup object. Okay, to set the startup object property, open Solution Explorer, right click on the project, select what? Properties. Select properties. It's outdated, guys. That's what I'm just changing the notes for you. Yeah, again I'll upload you. I'm changing the notes. A small change here. How to set that? Open the Solution Explorer. Right click on the project and select the option. Edit project file. Okay. Right click on the project. Select the option. Select the menu item. Select the option. Edit project file. So all of you can observe it. Right click and here you'll find edit project file. Or edit project file, which opens an XML file, with the name first project dot CSPROJ. Guys, watch it. It opened you an XML file, and the name is first project.cr. Where do you see the names? If you see all the files you're working, you'll be showing here. See, all the files will be added here. We call this as a document window, and everything gets added for you to the document window like this: program.cs, class1.cs, first project.csproj. Did you understand, all of you? the document window. Document window in the studio, in Visual Studio. In Visual Studio. Basically, they added to the document window in the Visual Studio. Okay. We can also open this. We can also open this .csproj file by double clicking on the project in Visual Studio. All of you have a look at. Let me close the window. Double click on the project will open the project file. Array, I'm again showing you. Just a double click on the project will also open the project file. Okay, now. Under the project file, by default, we find the below code. What is the code you find, Yeah. So this is the current code. What do you find in the project file, all of you? Okay. So look at this. If you understand this one, the first line is going to say you project SDK. Do you remember SDK? Software development kit. I said you this is required for developing a .NET application. You have Microsoft .NET SDK. If you have any doubts on this, in the introduction videos I explained you. When you're downloading, you'll have something called SDK. SDK means software development kit to develop it. Inside that, you'll be finding a tag called property group. A group of properties here. First one, output type. Output type exe. This is to tell the generated output file will be having a .exe extension. The generated output file is going to have .exe extension. Okay, just guys, observe it, all of you. First one, output type element is used to specify the generated output file after compilation of the project will be having a .exe extension. Did you guys understand me? Okay. Target framework. Target framework. Element is used to specify the .NET framework, the framework version, the framework version we have used. Sorry, we are using to build the project, and currently we are using the latest version of .NET. That is, what is that, guys? .NET 6.0. And in this version, okay, and in this framework, the runtime version, the .NET runtime version, the .NET runtime version we are using, the .NET runtime version we are using to build the project. And currently we are using the latest version of .NET, that is .NET 6.0. And in this version of runtime, C# version is 10.0. Are you guys clear? Same as this, if we use .NET 5.0, then C# version is 9.0. Any doubts? Read the messages, guys. And what did I say you? What did I say you? I said you I'm teaching the latest version of .NET now. I said you I'm teaching the latest version of .NET. Yeah, this is what I already clarified you. And what is the latest version of the .NET? I said you the latest version of the .NET is going to be the latest version of .NET is going to be the .NET 6, And which version of the C# is that? Which version of the C# is that? The version of the C# is going to be C# 10. The version of the C# is C# 10. And guys, when you're opening the project, if you are choosing C# .NET 5, and guys listen, and if we use .NET Core 3.1, then the version of C# is 8.0. Is it clear, all of you? See, basically, like you're choosing that one, which version. Based on that, this will change for you. Means new features will not work. New features will not be working for you. Did you understand me? Suppose guys, all of you, just observe it. When you're opening the project only, we are choosing it. When we are opening the project only, we are choosing this. What we are choosing, which version do we want to use? When we are opening the project only, we are choosing what we are choosing, which version we wanted to use. Is it clear, all of you? You're all choosing which version. So when you choose that, all of you carefully listen. Then based on that, the appropriate C# version will work. I'll show you a small thing. Watch it. Actually, you select your project here, right click, you'll find a window called properties. When you open this properties window, can you see the target framework 6.0? Suppose if I change this to .NET Core 3.2, if I change to .NET 5, the latest features of C# 10 will not work. The latest features of C# 10 will not work. You come to program class, you come to class 1 or anything. If you try to compile, you will be getting number of errors. What errors? Can you read this? Last class I explained you these things to you. Are you guys clear? And that information is changed here. That information is changed here. Six point 6.0. When I say 6.0, all the errors are vanished. See, all the errors are deleted. Why? Because in 6.0, this feature will work. Because in 6.0, this feature will work. Okay, now. Fine. Next. What is the next thing? Implicit usings. Implicit usings element is used to enable the feature What feature, guys? What feature? Global imports. Global imports. Global imports. We already learned about this in the yesterday session. I'm not talking now. I already explained about this in the yesterday session. I'm not talking now. Okay, now? Global imports. Which is new in C# 10. Okay, next one. Nullable. The next one is nullable. Nullable element is used to enable a new feature, nullable reference types, which was introduced in C# 8.2. Do you remember implicitly typed? No. Nullable value types. Do you remember nullable value types? What is nullable value types? What did I say? By default, value types doesn't have a null value. By default, value types doesn't accept a null value. We already learned about it. By default, a value type doesn't accept a null value. Okay, so null values are not accepted by default by value types. And if at all you want to use it, you need to declare it by using a question mark. The question mark indicates, array, why are you talking about object and string? We're talking about nullable value types. Earlier, we learned about the feature nullable value types. What does nullable value types talks about? Nullable value types talks about this particular feature. Okay. Nullable value types talks about a feature. By default, value types are non-nullable. You can make it nullable by suffixing a question mark, int question mark. Okay, now? So basically, reference types accept a null value or not? Reference types accept a null value or not? By default, reference types accepts a null value now? Yeah, I don't want reference types to accept null values. I don't want reference types to accept null values. Listen guys, I don't want reference types to accept null values. So now we have the feature. What are that reference types? I want to restrict them to accept a null value. Okay. For example, all of you guys listen. Here, I'm going to, okay, just a minute. I'll comment this for the time being. I will just uncomment it. Hold on. String str is equals to null. String str is equals to null. When I say string str is equals to null, strings are nullable now. All of us know strings are nullable. But when you assign a null value to a string, it is giving you a warning. It's giving a warning. What are the warnings? See? The variable str is assigned, but it's never used anywhere in the code. Okay. Okay. I will just try to say console.writeline str. Console.writeline str. Okay. Now, guys, all of you, you put your mouse at the null, it will show you. Converting null retrieval as possible null value to non-nullable type. The type is non-nullable. What is non-nullable? Array. This is non-nullable by default. Priyanka, stop the video. Priyanka Heidel, stop the video. Okay. So guys, listen. This is non-nullable now. But what did we learn? Strings are by default nullable. But in C# 8, they added this particular feature. What is it? You can just use, if at all you just say str, when you try to assign a null, it will give you a warning telling you this is non-nullable reference type. This is non-nullable reference type. It is a non-nullable reference type. If you want to make it nullable, same story again. What to do? String question mark. See now, no warning. No warning now. Yeah, that's a new feature now. Reference types are nullable only. Reference types are nullable. But if we add this feature nullable enable, okay? So guys, listen, I'm changing this value as a disable. I'm changing this as disable. Now come to the code. Now come to your code. In the code, I'm not putting a question mark. Okay? I'm not going to put any question mark. If you don't put any question mark, watch it. Do you have any warning message when you assign str is equals to null? That only na. By default strings are nullable. By default strings are nullable. But in C# 8, they added a feature. What is the feature? The feature is non-nullable reference types. Non-nullable reference types. What are the non-nullable reference types? If at all I say nullable enable. Now reference types are non-nullable. If we use this particular statement, reference types are also non-nullable. Are you clear? If I use this particular statement, reference types are also non-nullable. Okay, so that's why when I assign null value, when I try to assign a null value, code executes, but still it is just going to give you a warning. It gives you a warning. See, the green line is a warning. What is the warning? The warning is converting null retrieval or a possible null value to non-nullable type. Are you guys clear? Shubham, I explained yesterday. If you missed the class, I can't help you. Okay, so it is just giving an error. Now guys, to resolve it, now you say, see, now tell me, by default reference types are nullable or non-nullable in the latest version? In the current version, by default reference types are nullable or non-nullable? Non-nullable. Yes, perfect. By default, they are non-nullable. Why they are non-nullable? Because in the project file, the nullable property has been enabled. When this is enabled, by default, reference types are non-nullable. If you try to assign a null value to reference type, we get a warning. Okay, so just a minute. Read it question. Read this carefully. Nullable element is used to enable a new feature, nullable reference types. Nullable, enable a feature, just a minute here, non-nullable reference types, which was introduced in C# 8. Okay, listen, by default, reference types are nullable. By default, reference types are nullable. But we can make them non-nullable by enabling the nullable option in the project file. So when we assign a null value, when you assign a null value to them, we get a warning. Okay, but if we want to assign a null value, if we want to assign a null value really, then we need to declare, okay, suffixing with a question mark, suffixing with a question mark. For example, guys, by default, reference types are nullable. By default, reference types are nullable, but we can make them non-nullable. We can make them non-nullable by enabling the nullable option, by enabling the nullable feature, by enabling the nullable feature in project file. In project file. So when we assign a null value, when we assign a null value to them, when we assign a null value to them, we have a warning. But if we really want to assign, if we really want to assign a null value, if we really want to assign a null value to them, we need to declare them by suffixing with a question mark. By suffixing with a question mark. For example, string object see guys, these are all the latest features. Yeah, someone asked me, what is the advantage? Yeah, what is the advantage? Actually, this nullable, non-nullable, and all these things, this nullable, non-nullable, all these things, why they're added is for putting them in a sync with the database here, database. For example, tomorrow in your database, all of you carefully listen. In your database, you have a table. You have a table. What is the table? Customer is a table. In the table, we have a columns like customer ID, name of the customer, balance of the customer. Okay, balance of the customer, like balance of the customer. Next, city of the customer, status of the customer. Like this, we have some few columns in this. Okay. Now, when we are developing applications here, all of you carefully listen. When we are developing applications, what happens, you know? When we're developing applications, tomorrow, I want to load the data from this table. All of you, carefully listen. I want to load the data from this table. From which table? From the customer table. Okay. Where to load into my C# application? I want to load them into C# application. So how do I do? Int customer ID is equals to what we load, you know? We load the value of customer ID column from customer table. We load string name is equals to, you understand now? Balance is equal, what is this? Decimal or double balance is equals to. Again, string city is equals to. Bool status is equals to. Guys, look at this, concentrate on this. We are just going to load the data like this. We are going to load the data. Now tell me one thing. Now tell me one thing, all of you. In the table, can the customer ID column contain a null value in it? Can the customer ID column contain a null value in it? Come on, answer me, guys. No, customer ID column can never contain a null value. Why? Array, customer ID is mandatory. Every customer requires a customer ID. So customer ID cannot contain a null value in it. Okay? So compulsory, will it load a value or not? Compulsory, will it load a value or not? So no problem. Now 101 is the customer ID. Name, coming to name, Raju is the name. Now coming to balance, in the balance, can I have a null value? In the balance, can I have a null value? Yeah, null value can be present in a balance. Null value can be present in a balance. Are you getting me? So when I'm trying to load a null value here, what happens, you'll get error. Array, when you try to load the null value here, you'll get an error. Why you'll get error? Because value type doesn't accept a null value. Value type doesn't accept a null value. Correct or not? To resolve this problem, we now say question mark. Okay? And here also bool status. The status also can contain null value. So use question mark. Now see guys, if this accepts a null value, here also null is accepted. This is accepting a null value, here also null is accepted. Suppose the status doesn't accept a null value. Remember, suppose status doesn't accept a null value. How do we declare it? Bool status. So now tell me, does it accept a null value? It doesn't accept a null value. Tomorrow, when I'm inserting also, do I have a chance of sending a null? When I am inserting also, do I have a chance of sending a null? No chance. No chance. Why no chance? Because the status is declared as non-nullable. When you declare the status as non-nullable, there's no chance of sending a null value. See, for customer ID, you cannot send a null value. For status, you cannot send a null value. Are you clear? For balance, can I send a null value? Yes. Now the problem is with the strings now. What is the problem with strings, Guys, actually, in the table, on the name column, on the city column, null values are accepted. Suppose for the city column, null values are accepted. Suppose here, null is there. Here, null is there. Here, 1 is there. Understand? Status is non-nullable. 1 is there. So no problem. So your balance is nullable. And here also, I'm accepting a null value. Now see, come to city. When you come to city, look at the city now. City is accepting a null or not? So here, is the null value can be captured here? Can I capture the null value there? Arey, why yaar? Why? String accepts null na? Can the null value be accepted now? Yes, accepted. Accepted. Okay. Now, guys, listen. Come to name. Name is non-nullable. Name is non-nullable. Name is non-nullable. So compulsory name should be there, and the name will come here. The name will come here. Look at this, all of you. Name will come here. So no problem. Tomorrow, when I'm inserting, can I send null to a name and insert? Can I send null to a name and insert? Listen to my questions carefully. Don't talk something in the middle. Follow me carefully. That's what. I'm assigning null to my name now. I'm trying to insert by assigning null to name. Array, you're wrong, Hamid. Listen what I'm telling you. I'm trying to insert by assigning null to the name. Because string accepts a null value, so I'm assigning. But when the null value goes to table, table is telling I won't accept. Table is telling I won't accept. Now all of you think yourself, when the table is not accepting null value, my application also should not accept the null value. Agree with me? When the table is not accepting a null value, my application also should not accept a null value. Agree with me or not? To resolve this particular problem only, what they said is now, by default, strings are non-nullable now also. By default, strings are non-nullable from C#8 onwards. Strings are also non-nullable. Reference types are also non-nullable. If you want them nullable, suffix a question mark. Suffix a question mark. Tomorrow, see, for city, null can come, a value can come. But for name, compulsory value only should come. Null cannot come. If you get a null, warning will come now. Did you understand? So tomorrow, I cannot assign a null value to this and send it to a table. If I try to do that, it will give you a warning message. Array, it is non-nullable. You don't try to assign a null. Are you clear, guys? Understood everything? No confusion? And don't forget, if we wanted to, disable this feature, city is nothing name. Yeah, city is name. Can contain null also. But array not name, yeah, city string. Name, your name, not my name. That is not the point. City is a string. City is a string. Tomorrow null is stored there. So here null is accepted. But when you come to name, I cannot store null there. When I cannot store null, now the nulls will not be loaded here. If you try to assign a null, warnings will come now. That's all. If you want to disable this feature, change the value, enable as disable, so that if table has a null, application should accept null. If table doesn't accept null, application also should not accept null. Why you are talking name? Yeah, value. I am talking about value. Name is a column. That's all. Name is a column. In this column, I don't want null values to be accepted. In this column, I don't want null values to be accepted. But in this column, I want null values to be accepted. Did you understand this first? In this column, I don't want null values to be accepted. In this column, I want null values to be accepted. Did you understand that? Okay, now see, here I said string name. So nulls are not accepted. Here I said string question mark city. So nulls are accepted. Did you catch my point? In this case, you cannot assign a null value at all. But in this case, you can assign a null value. Same. For int customer ID, can you assign a null? Can you assign a null to customer ID? Can you assign a null to balance? Can you assign a null to balance? Yes. So now look at this and tell me where null can be assigned and where null cannot be assigned. Look at this and tell me where null can be assigned and where null cannot be assigned. Balance and city null can be assigned. Balance and city null can be assigned. Customer ID, name and status null cannot be assigned. So for customer ID, name and status, value is mandatory. Value is mandatory. For balance density, you can assign a value or you can assign a null also. See, for customer ID, name and status, value is mandatory. For balance density, you can assign a value or you can assign null also. Did you catch my point, all of you? For customer ID, name and status, value is mandatory. Okay. For balance and city, we can assign a value, or we can assign null also. Clear? Okay. So guys, one more thing I'm just clarifying you. One more thing I just want to clarify you. If we wanted to disable this feature, if we want to disable this feature of reference types accepting, reference types not accepting. Just a minute, guys. Just a minute, all of you. అడుగు. Okay, so if you want to disable the feature of reference types not accepting, null values by default, change the value enable as a disable. Change the value enable as disable in the change the value enable as a disable. under the nullable element of the project file. Nullable element of the project file. Are you clearer, guys? Okay. Finally, the last thing, guys, listen. How to set the startup object? How to set the startup object? See now, to set the startup object, to set the startup object property, to set the startup object property, add element within the existing startup, within the project group element, within the project group element in the last, as below. Guys, have a look. What you'll do now is, here, add that option now. That's all. Now, which class are you planning to run? Class 1. Run the code. Sorry, we commented it. Run the code. Class 1 only, na? Class 1. Could not find. Could not find them. Is it running or what? Project name is first project only, na? Oh, spelling mistake came here. No, yeah, when we created the project, we made a spelling mistake there. Sorry, guys, we made a spelling mistake there. That is the error. That is the error. That's all. Yeah, project name has a spelling mistake. That's why we faced the problem. That's all. No issue. Executed, see. All of you see executed. Same process from now onwards. Same process from now onwards. Okay? It's going to be the same process from now onwards, like how you run the code. Okay? Okay, guys. Try this. Try this. We will just try this one. Like how do you? I'll upload the notes again. Try all these things. Okay, guys. Monday you don't have a session. Monday you don't have a session. Tuesday we'll start with object-oriented programming. Monday you don't have a session, and Tuesday we'll start with object-oriented programming. I will upload the notes. Read it carefully. Okay.
Recording stopped.